What would have happened if you didn't do it yourself is that Google would have automatically set up Google or GA4 if you already had Universal Analytics, so the old analytics in there. So it will already be in place if you didn't do anything. You'll have a Google Analytics a property in there as well. So here's our old Universal Analytics one. I've gone through and created this myself, but I've also created one for this presentation so that we can just have a look at it. Ran through that process just to familiarize myself on what actually happened during it. So I'll just switch to that, which is why you'll see very little traffic in here and very little conversions. But in the very beginning, when you create your Universal Analytics, your GA4, first thing that you need to do is install install it onto the website and make sure it starts tracking. So as you're going through the setup for GA4, it will provide this to you, and it will say, okay, if you're using WordPress or another site, here's an option to select that, or in the very simplest case, you get this code, head to your website, and probably you're using WordPress or some other tool. Also, whatever content management system, but usually they will have a spot where you're setting up and installing Google Analytics. So when we're doing it, we use a tool called Avada for building sites when we're doing them. Options. So usually there's something like this where you can install that piece of code if you're going to put it into your website. Alternatively, if it's something like Squarespace or Shopify, they'll just ask you to just paste in a code. So that code, if I go back to analytics, is this ID here. So if they're just asking for an ID and they're saying it's a GA4 ID, which hopefully they would be, then you just take that code and you paste it into wherever that website is asking for it. If it's not that smart and it's a little bit more low level, like WordPress, then there will usually be a place that you can plug that code into. Ask your developer if you are not comfortable with editing what's going on in the back end of your site. So I'm not going to put that code in because I'm going to now move on to Tag Manager, which is the slight alternative to using the code that is directly from Google Analytics. So we use Tag Manager. Who's used or seen Tag Manager before? Okay, so we use Tag Manager as our standard way of setting up our clients. We want to use something like Tag Manager because it means that we only put one set of code into a customer's site, and then that code is the only thing that we need to do to update that site. After that, you then use Tag Manager to install everything else that we want to. So we now no longer need to go into that website and update anything. So if we want to add in tracking for Facebook, or we want to add in tracking or conversions for LinkedIn, then we can do that all from within Tag Manager. So I've got here what in Tag Manager you have. It's very much the same as that code that you had for Google Analytics. It's essentially you come into Tag Manager, you're going to create a new tag. And then I've got that ID here. and I'm pasting it in here. And we want to say it's going to track when every page is loaded. So just like the Google Analytics tag pasted into the website, the same thing is going to happen for Tag Manager. So we put the code for Tag Manager into our website. We say we want it to send data to Google GA4 to this tag ID, and we want it to trigger every time a page is loaded. So I would save that, and then this bit here will turn up. And then Tag Manager is very similar. It just has a piece of code here that you would install onto your website. So you don't do both, you're doing one or the other. And depending on if you need to use Tag Manager for more advanced tracking on your website and connecting other things like Facebook or LinkedIn, that's potentially the point when you would use something like Tag Manager. And it just, from when we're looking at it, it means that we're able to keep things a lot more consistent and easily able to be found. So everyone in the team knows that if they're looking for a tracking code, they're going to head to Tag Manager and the customer data is going to be there. Right. So we've completed 2 steps. Any questions on setting up Tag Manager, setting up tracking on the website? That's all like straightforward. Everyone's like, that's so easy. Chris, why'd you even show me that?
Can I just double check? For example,
yeah, sure.
I need to install LinkedIn inside Tag. If I use Tag Manager, I just install it with Tag Manager, and then I don't have to worry about going in the back end of the website and install it.
Yeah, so you've installed that tag tracking code from Tag Manager into your website, and then on Tag Manager here, you would create a new one. LinkedIn Insight, and then you would grab your Insight tag, add that in. You would trigger it again when every page is fired here, and then it's going to start tracking and sending page views back to LinkedIn. Yeah. Same thing for Facebook as well. Jess?
Yeah. So when you do what you just started setting up the LinkedIn tags.
Yeah.
So currently on our website page, it's with a webinar registration, which is soon, but it's set up as an iframe. And I can't seem to work out how to track the iframe. So I can track obviously the from the advert on LinkedIn through to the web page, and I can set it up as an event when they click the button, the iframe, but I can't actually then
track the registrations. Yeah.
Like how many people click the button versus how many people actually signed up.
Yeah, it's so what's the webinar software that you use?
That's just Zoom.
Zoom, okay. Yeah. So, and what's the iframe that's in the website? Was it? Did you say it was an iframe that was?
Yeah, it's just, so we use compatible. It's just a button in there which pops in the iframe.
Okay.
Which just has the Zoom registration thing.
So the main problem with using an iframe in a website is that the tracking code can't access it to get into it, right? So the 2 options that you have is, one is that you go to Contentful and you connect them up to your Google Analytics, and they will sometimes provide a nice easy way of doing it, but I spend about, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 hours a month, working with different customers on their third-party systems to get it to track into Google Analytics, because they all have slightly different ways of doing it. And then, so even if they start sending that data back to your website, it's coming from a different URL, and then it doesn't connect up with that whole journey that you're trying to track through, because it sees it as like they've gone off somewhere else and there's a completely random conversion turning up on your website. The alternative is that you don't use Contentful and you put in just your own form on that and then that's cool.
Yeah, but it seems to not work. And I don't know if I'm doing it wrong because
Yeah.
I found that, but it was tracking it like as a separate event rather than tracking it because the adverts go out just like versus like campaign manager. It wasn't like naturally. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you stumbled across the more tricky aspect of doing this kind of thing is trying to get what is quite a complex thing to track and trying to then report it back and have a complete user journey in there. So not simple, great for a drop-in center where we can have a look through. That's exactly that. Unfortunately, it's not like something that you can resolve in 5 minutes. Yeah. Yep.
Then other track them to Reddit and Discord or ads then. We don't know what
So you mean like if you had ads running on Reddit, or I would if you're I'm going to go with it probably does. I've not set up Reddit to see how that would work though. So yeah. Yeah, quite late. So there's a lot of them out there, and if they've got to any decent size, then they will definitely be doing some kind of tracking, which allows you to, make sure that you're able to send conversions back to them, because all of these advertising platforms are all usually based on AI, and they all need data fed into them to work well. So they all need conversions. They all need to know which user has actually converted to then determine who should I target with my ads more effectively. And the place where you're capturing that is on your website, and it needs to be sent back to those advertising platforms. So not 100%, but 99% that they'll have a way of installing it and on Tag Manager as well. So talking about events, so GA4, slightly different to Universal Analytics, it comes out of the box. It's able to track a certain set of things which are happening on the website. So over here, it's by default, it will turn on these enhanced measurement type things, and it's going to track page views, scrolls, outbound clicks, site searches, file downloads, and form interactions. So without having to do anything, once you've installed GA4 on your website, it's going to start tracking that information. And the main thing is that events are tracked, but you need to do more with them than you used to with Universal Analytics. So almost GA4 has been set up from a really developer's point of view. So I love it. I can see everything about it. It's all been built from first principles about how to track events and what's going on your website. But they've made it like slightly more complicated for people that are actually then using it as a result. But so the events are created, and then we need to indicate to GA4 that an event is useful and that we want to make it a conversion, which we would then send to things like Google Ads and Facebook, or what other types of paid advertising we have. So it can track all of these things, and like I said, it does it out of the box. So if I am in Tag Manager, so I guess the fundamentals is that your website is only as useful as the data that you're getting out of it, right? So we need to make sure that when somebody goes onto the website, they've done something useful. We need to know that they've done it, so that we can know that the work that we've done from a marketing point of view has been successful. We've put an ad out, we've created some content on Reddit or what have you. We've been able to track them. They've come to the website. Now we want to track to make sure that when they've landed on there. Have they done something that we're interested in? So I've just created this dummy page here. It's got one form on it, which just takes somebody's name. We also track if somebody clicks on your phone number or if somebody has clicked on an email address on your website. So for this one here, without having to do anything, if I have installed GA4, it's going to start tracking the click event, like we've clicked on somebody's clicked on something on the website, and in this case it happens to be a phone number. So if I jump in here, so I've clicked on that. What Tag Manager provides is a way for us to like study that whole process that's going on. So I've gone into Tag Manager. The tag is installed on the website already. I've clicked on this preview button here, which has opened up this thing called Tag Assistant. It's now looking at the website and going, what's happening on there in this this little screen here. You want tags on temporary tag container for debugging Tag Assistant. And then return here. I think I connect on the next one. A minute, just make sure I'm debugging the right thing. GJD. It's this one here. Okay. So this is showing me what's happened on that particular page. We want to see on this hidden form page that a series of events have occurred, and Tag Manager is showing us what those events were. So we've got a click, we've got a link click, outbound click, another outbound click. Yeah, so they're provided by default. Haven't had to do anything. I've just installed GA4 on there. So, but using Tag Manager, it just gives me more insight or visibility about what's going on. And then, yeah, and we'll jump into GA4 and see them coming through. You can see them there. It's just, I guess I'm following our standard process, yeah. And then if I have a look in GA4, we'll see the events which are coming through. So just, I'll jump in there in a sec. So I've clicked on that. We've had this click event here. It's fired. And then if I go into Google Analytics and have a look, this is a new thing which they did install with GA4, which is this debug view. So you can, and this is part of the reason for using, well, from our point of view, to use Tag Manager, is because in debug view, when something is operating like this, and we've connected it via Tag Assistant or via Tag Manager, then in Google Analytics, the debug view starts showing us what's going on and all the information which is coming through. So this one for the debug view.
Yes.
Yep. So you click into admin. They've only just changed the screen to be like this. And then down the bottom here, you can click on debug view. So down here, there's an admin area. Hidden away down there. And then you're going to click on debug view.
What is this?
That's cool. And so in here, you're starting to see the events which are now getting fired through to GA4. So we got this click event, the link, and we got all of these parameters. So we can click on that. We can see what the parameters are. So the link URL is basically what's embedded in the thing that the person has clicked on, or the URL that person has clicked on. So we've got that one coming through already. If I click on, not there, where is it? Hidden. Here it is. If I click on the email address and then head back to Tag Assistant, it's another outbound click here. And then in Google Analytics over here, we wait for a little bit. And there's this click event here, which has come through. And the link has got mail to, and then the URL has been redacted, but that's fine because we're just interested that that's occurred. Somebody's done something useful on our website. Now, the final bit is that form submission, which I'll look at shortly, but I just wanted to show you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So for these two, just that you've clicked on it, because one's a telephone number. So if somebody's on a mobile device, they've clicked on it, then the phone happens. Mail, same thing. The form, I haven't gone through that yet. So we'll grab on. Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. So you're right. You don't know what they've done after that fact. No, because it then moves off to a completely different program and it's got no way of tracking it. Yeah. So you don't know if they've then completed that email.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of what you do in digital marketing is making assumptions. So if, around the data that you've got, you have to have enough of them to make sure that it's, valid. If you've just got one or two, you've got no idea. But, yeah, the other, what we would typically do is we, with a new customer, we sit down with them after the first month of running this and then go, well, this is what we've seen on, through Google Analytics. This is how many conversions we've tracked. What's it like in your CRM? Yeah. Did you actually get this? So we had this today actually, where we're a new company and sitting down with them, talking through those conversions, and a lot of those clicks related to like remote support. They're an IT service provider, and so somebody's going to their site, clicking on remote support. That's of no use to them. That's an existing customer. So yeah, there's that process of checking to make sure the things which you track in analytics turn into something real afterwards. Yeah. So with an event, you're tracking them and they will turn up. Just moving out of admin and go to, if I go to my events page, after about 24 hours, they will turn up on this events page here. And that there is not just the events that we're interested in, it's session start, first visit, scroll events. So this is every event. And then what we need to do is on the conversions pages, start to identify which of those events are marketing useful, if you like. So the place to do that, back in the admin area, on conversions. And then after 24 hours, all of your events will start populating, events. After 24 hours, your events will start populating in here, and then you can just choose, all right, form start, not necessarily a conversion. We're not too interested if they've started on the form. We want to know if they've completed it, which is what I've got up here, but that's got a special set of circumstances around it. So I'll come back to that. Link, click email. Okay, that was interesting, and I want to make sure I'm tracking that as a conversion. So I've set that up and click this button, and it's now marked as a conversion, and it will turn up now on our conversion report. Down here, and be separated out from all of the other events. So does anyone have it? So basically GA4 it's all about tracking events on your website and it tracks events when somebody lands on the site, when they interact with it, when they do anything move between pages. It's tracking all of those things as events, and it works out things like how long have they been on the site based on your session started here because your first event came in, you then stopped interacting with the site and then left, and another event will be fired at that point. So it works out those things based on all of those events which are coming from the website. It's a little bit different from Universal Analytics in that they're making it really clear, or really, I guess, direct, that you have to be aware of what these events are. And then you separate events saying that they are special by calling them conversions. Yeah, so this menu is dependent on how you set up GA4. So, and the options that you choose when you're setting up GA4 is if you go, well, I'm interested in generating leads, raising brand awareness, and examining user behavior, which is what I did for this account, then it will give you these reports under these headings. But in your library down here, you can update and change them to whichever reports you actually end up using. Does yours look completely different? Yeah. No, that's all good. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll show you that library in a bit. What time does everyone need to go home? Midnight.
Every day, right? So you know really well, and obviously working with businesses that are kind of, this is their reward thing. But if you were to kind of making people down to
go for it, Howard.
like what
Make it simple. Slow it down, Chris. Keep it real simple. Yeah. 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 No, I mean, so it depends, right, as to what your focus of your role is. Some people's role will cover, setting it up, analyzing this data, and some people's role is about, I just need like the headlines as to what's going on. So you took away the three key things. Yeah.
Well,
it is.
What GA does do.
Yeah.
What it does not do. Are you really ranges? I don't know if that's a small question.
Yeah.
Because, you hear about all these end-to-end tracking, they can be a little more difficult. Most of us are actually a big thing, and it's a great story.
What's coming to a crashing stop from, or what's your impression of what comes to a crashing stop?
Even previously, the old analytics really just it was so limited.
Yeah. So I mean, and so what we do is we don't tend to go into analytics at all. We have extracted everything out into Data Studio or Looker Studio now, and built our own set of reports that we use for all of our customers, because it's much easier to explain marketing to them once we built our own reports and what the results have been, linking the data that we pulled from Google Analytics, the data that we pull from the various other advertising platforms, roll it all up to, these are the objectives that we were trying to achieve. How are we going against those objectives? But that in itself is not a small undertaking to do. But I guess the number one activity or number one takeaway, and maybe I'll come back to some other takeaways, is that if your data, your events, your conversions are not correct in Universal Analytics, as in you can't trust them, then you're building your digital marketing tower on a really shaky foundation. So this bit here, while it seems quite technical, is is just absolutely critical to get it right. You can't have a successful Google Ads campaign if you're incorrectly reporting events and conversions in Google Analytics. You can't have you can't reliably report to your CEO, whoever it is that you're reporting to, around how well is digital marketing going, unless you can be almost rock solid with this data that's coming out of Google Analytics. So takeaway one, make sure your data's right. So this process which I'm talking through here is essentially what we do, and what we make sure is just has to be correct. So we can't, can imagine me sitting in front of a customer and they're like looking at me going, don't believe it, that ain't right. We won't be a digital marketing company for very long if they don't believe it and they don't think it's right. So, and it's I guess it would be the same in any marketing role. You've got to make sure that funnel, and maybe that's the second bit, is that we tend to focus on the website as where we tend to send all of our traffic, whether you're doing social posts, whether you're doing advertising, email outs, bring all of that traffic back to the website. And then we optimize those journeys on the website as best as we can. Obviously, there's loads that you can do just inside that to make sure that you're bringing them through to something useful on the website. So if your website has an inquiry form, and I mean, you're getting 5 inquiries a month, probably for a New Zealand company, that's amazing. If you have inquiries and you also have some resources that they can download, you'll probably get 10 or 15 sort of conversions in a month. If you add in there a webinar that you've done and that it's proved to be quite a useful one, and then you've added a little form at the end of it to, if you want to get access to it, and then that turns into another conversion, then you're up to 30 or something conversions in a month. So you're, especially in B2B, you need more than just one outcome or one call to action on the website. It's got to have like lots of opportunities where somebody that's not quite ready to interact with you is going to do something that you can ideally grab their data along the way. Yeah. So the key kind of aspect, maybe that's takeaway 4, is that Google, Facebook, they're all kind of getting a little bit more nervous around harvesting people's data along their user journey. So as much data as you can grab yourself, and getting email addresses and names and done in a nice way, gives you a lot more ownership and a lot more power over your marketing lists, whether it is email lists or whether it's somebody that's done something on your website. Yep.
You're showing us 2 ways.
Yep.
Are there any other ways that you might see these show up in GA4, or are they mostly the only tools?
The only other way would be as if a developer or a third-party tool was in there and had used a bit of code to send that event through to your data stream. Yeah, I don't think I know another way that they would come up. So, have you got some extra ones?
96,000 conversions over the past 6 years.
That's awesome. Well done. That's way more than what I was suggesting. Yeah. Investigate where they might come from. Yeah.
Yeah, but I wondered if the plugin with Facebook, it might create something that either developers.
So, I mean, in this debug view, if you click on it and you're looking at, where was it?
But debug views on live, you go to GC and preview.
Correct. So the other way I was looking for this page referrer, but in the other way, up here under reports, and you go to real time. And then you can, I mean, this to me seems to be worse than universal analytics, the way that you can look at real time. You know, this is what's happening currently on the website. There's one user, probably me, on the website. And if I was to click on one of those links, which these are the ones which have come in, I click on it. And then you can start to see some of the information that's coming through, so page referrer, and then I can see where it's coming from. So when that event arrives via real time, you can have a look at it and then keep on clicking through to see where it's come from. So tick, tick, and then wherever it was, page referrer. It should give you some information about where it's come from.
That we have a lead form on the website and Google Analytics says, oh, you've got like 100 leads a month. And then we speak with our sales team. It's not, it's not 10 leads.
Yeah.
Just an example. And what we think is happening is that when someone fills out the form and they click submit, and the pop-up message says, thank you for submitting form. But what we think, Google Analytics thinks that whenever you click submit button, whenever you filled out the form, if you didn't fill out the form, it counts it as a conversion, as a submitted form.
Yeah.
And sometimes people
look at it, but don't fill it out, right?
Yeah.
Of what, sorry? Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Smart ways of tracking your bank
Yeah.
and maybe we should do that same.
Yeah.
So because it's on my list, form submission. So there is, you know, if you've just, well, I'll show you the events that come through, right? Just to talk to that specifically. So, oops. No, here we go. So here, if I start typing out something on this form, and then if I look at tag assistant here, it comes through with a form start event. I've not clicked anything else. I've not submitted that, but I've interacted with it. And then if on this form, the other thing I can do is if I submit it like that. So the other thing is that if that tracking wasn't set up correctly, it could just be on that button click, but the form's not being completed, then again, it could be reporting it as it's all done, but it's not being done. So it's about just checking how that, whether that form submission has actually been successful. So yeah.
You go and click, double click for a submit. You know, you assume the system's intelligent enough to determine that, but
Yeah, if it depends, right? So a lot of websites, you'll be able to set that form. This is the most easiest and the most straightforward way to do it, is if you set that form to go to a thank you page at the end of it. So that keeps it really simple, right? They've completed all of the necessary fields and they've been able to go to the thank you page. A lot of forms are a lot smarter than that, like this one here, where if I successfully submit it, it's come up with a message down here. The page hasn't refreshed, it hasn't changed at all. It's just done it all in the back end with using a bit of code to submit it, which is neat from a user experience point of view. But if it was an actual submission on a page, then that event would come through, form is now completed. But because it's just using code to send that data in, it's not sending that event through. So I've had to do something else, which Tag Manager can do, which is just look for what's called element visibility. I'm not going to show you that because it basically, I go away and go, all right, has this piece of, has this thing here turned up on the page? If it has, I know that that form has been successfully submitted, count that as an event, and then in Tag Manager back here, I've created this one here, and it sends through event form submission, but it's only based on this form visibility, I don't know if you can see it. So only if that thing turns up as visible does this event get sent through to Google Analytics. And then I go, okay, that event is now successful, and can see it on Google Analytics, mark it as a conversion. Yeah. Yeah.
You can consider that also to be
Conversion. Yeah, correct. So like I said, the simplest way is if you set that form to just send off to a thank you page after successfully completing it, then it's a lot easier inside analytics to recognize that. Yeah. So I'll just do a little bit on the reports which are here. So like I said, when you set up the reports, they're chosen, these sort of ones here are chosen by the options that you select when you're setting up GA4. But in the library here, you've got this is the life cycle one. It's currently unpublished. Business objectives is currently the one that's reported. So I can go and edit this collection, change the reports which are visible, and see different reports under that area. So it's got generate leads here, raise brand awareness, examine user behavior, and I can go and edit it, add different reports in, or remove reports which I don't find useful. Yeah, if you decide that you like that report and you like that report and you want to call it, my set of collections, then you can just chuck it in there and put them under different headings that you find interesting. Most of the report pages are customizable. So this report snapshot, you can customize it. You can choose these different boxes that you want on here. So what's that? So yeah, just a minute. So you've got here. So what I did was click on that pencil on that particular on that report snapshot, and then if I don't find users by country useful, just hit on the X and delete it, or you can add other cards around here that you might find interesting. And then if you save it, then it will be like that from now going forward. You can put a comparison on here. So we've got all users versus, I could choose an audience. What did I choose? Audience name, time on site. Coming up with the one I was expecting. Let me choose something else then. No way, we've got no data. It's only going to show me things that we have data for. So just switching over to our normal one. So here we've got a comparison of all users versus those that spent more than 3 minutes on our site. So I'd consider like an audience where they've spent more than 3 minutes on your site to be more likely to convert. So you're interested in, this is everyone, and you're trying to compare it to those that are spending a long time and engaging a lot on your site. So down here, so those that have spent more than 3 minutes on our site. So we've got United States versus, if we're looking at everyone, it's India versus and the United States. Where do they come from? So if they spent 3 minutes on the site, they're more likely to, well, they're coming from organic, but they also come from direct. And then what campaigns are more likely to drive them to our site? So you're just able to have a look at that comparison. So you can set this comparison up and then it can just stay there as long as you would like it to. So it could be, if it was a B2C, it might be like e-commerce purchases versus those who didn't purchase, or, you know, whatever type of comparison where you can start to pull this information out. One, I guess, like that's like a really quick run through of reports. And all of the reports are able to be edited like that. So you can go in, you can change the metrics that are displaying there, you can change the dimensions, the dates which are currently displayed for. And then one other final thing is that these you can create your own reports as well. So if you want to start reporting on, you know, just like a really small set of information, you can come into here, explore. You can start from a blank canvas or use one of these things. Create that report, save it, and then if you want to, add it back into your collection of reports that you're now interested in taking a look at on a regular basis.
Different things that represent different stages in customer journey, milestones. Could you then pull those events into these explorations to represent that?
Yeah.
That would seem quite interesting. I know you use Looker Studio. Do you use GA4 for this type of stuff, or would you export all that through Looker instead?
No, I'd probably tend to do that in here because you're looking at, you know, where they fall off, and Looker Studio doesn't have the same kind of visualization of it. So at that point, you're interested in exactly how did that, you know, what happened along the way. So in a funnel visualization, it gives you some by default, the steps that they've taken along the way. They've started their session, they've looked at a particular page, and then they've created, or there's been a conversion. Yeah, so this is set as a conversion. Trying to think, actually, we set that. So a conversion is a special event, I guess. So if you didn't have conversion in here, you could just use event name, just drop it in there instead. You edit your funnel. Oh, there you go. So I've called it a conversion. And then step 3 is telephone click, email click, or a form submission, which is one of those events coming through. Yeah. This one being particularly useful when you're looking at what's happening on a shop or something like that. So you can see as you're going through, add to cart, did they complete checkout? Whereabouts did they drop off along the way? What's your abandonment rate? And or, you know, you can then break it down by, is it, you know, your organic traffic, or you could also add in your, like, a breakdown, change that from the medium to device. So for example, if you notice that all your mobiles were dropping off like a really high abandonment rate for mobile phones, you could start looking at your mobile experience on the website. You know, what's going on mobile versus what's going on desktop or tablet, and see, is there a problem or not a problem, and then start honing in on it. So it gives you that opportunity to start drilling in onto different bits and bobs. And then if you save it, you can add it in. I guess it's just a different way of visualizing something similar. So with the funnel, you've also, do you mean this one is the snaky view? Okay, yeah. So that there still exists, so you can still sort of like step through that, you know, and add whether it's an event or a page title or it's something else. What's freeform? Oh, freeform. So I might have a customer that's got like a set of events coming through which are just completely different. You know, I don't know what they are, and they're not one of the Google standard ones, and I just need to see whether they're actually arriving. So essentially you're kind of like, you're not sure which way you want to visualize it. It doesn't fit into one of the other ones. So I'm going to start with a table and then just have a look at, okay, what does it look like if I put that data on there? If I change town and city to another type of dimension, country, chop that off. And so it's just a way of investigating it without being restricted into the other visualization method. So it's essentially it's a table view of it. Or a pie, or one of these ones, or a line chart. Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of like when it doesn't fit into one of the other ones, just use it like that. Yeah. All right, can I summarize everything? For adding page, extreme traffic, conversions. I think I'll probably pause there. Is there anything else that I can tell people about GA4? It's like such a quick run through, but there's so much more. Yeah.
I guess the metrics in terms of the importance of metrics, like in the past I used to look at the traffic and how much time people spend on my page, the bounce rate, this kind of metrics. Are they still relevant with GA4, or is there something new that's better?
Yep. So engagement or engaged users is essentially the opposite of bounced users. So it's if you looked at it, they would be the inverse of each other. And so finding bounced users on your web on GA4 is just not possible at the moment. I think they're looking at bringing it back because everyone keeps asking for it. Yeah, it's not one of their default ones. So the way that we look at it is more on the other side, which is this is how many engaged users I had this month versus last month. And that just means basically the users that have turned up and stayed on their site for more than 10 seconds or scrolled around or completed a form or a conversion of some sort. No, Google defined so that's got a default meaning, engagement in GA4, but you can change that meaning as well. Somewhere hidden away in the admin area, you can actually set what an engaged user is. And those are the ones that you're predominantly focusing on. Anything else?
You see how to give sequence.
Yeah.
And try to apply the same concept to GA4 as pointed to client conditions. Do you know if there's a workaround to build audiences?
So when you were doing it, were you doing it as an audience like this? So a segment is different to an audience, but it may be another way of you separating out some people into a particular thing and then being able to report on it. Right. So we're creating a custom. So I went under admin and then I went, so yeah, it allows you to, I don't know, but I suspect you can keep on adding as many as you would like there. And it gives you kind of like an update as well. So based on historical information, how many people would be in that audience, so you know if you've narrowed it too much. Yeah, yeah. So that's. I mean, I'm not 100% certain about how to do that, but so when you were setting up your segment, whereabouts were you doing it?
So it's under the report stage. Section. So no,
They're one of these things, yeah.
Using that to try and segment the data and that was just so racist.
Yeah.
So you can only apply conditions or
Okay.
so yeah, that's a good one.
I'm not entirely sure, but if I was going to do it, I would probably be in here, creating a user segment, and then this will probably give us, I mean, it's a similar thing to creating an audience, but it can probably be applied across those existing reports. So I went into freeform and then under segment created it, user segment or an event segment or a session segment. So there's probably one difference between Universal Analytics and GA4 is that, and why you get reporting differences is that a user is different to a session. So a user is tracked across multiple visits to the site, which is why a user report or user acquisition report will be different versus a session which just ignores the fact that they've been there multiple times. So if you came to traction marketing, you would be a session. If you came back again, it's another session. So your sessions keep on growing. But just a something to consider before you start building it like that. They would still be considered to be as separate at that point.
Separate users.
Maybe, because if Google's got a way of tagging them using their Google profile, like if you're logged into Chrome, then and it can track you across both devices, they'll probably consider you to be the same user. But if you log in on Chrome on one and Firefox on another, they'll probably consider you to be separate. To try to do that and make sure that was much more explicit, I guess, as to what you're doing. Should I stop there, Helen?
I guess none of this tracks feeds into the list of spot
It definitely does. So and it should do. So in your admin area, where has it gone? Here. So Google AdSense. I mean, it's got some links which it provides by default back into those things, but typically if you're a HubSpot user, then all your forms are going to be built in HubSpot, and HubSpot's the whole website and anyway, so it's able to track it. But right. Mm.
The other platform, I think, that you're making, which is more so, which they pushing quite a lot.
Is that an alternative to Google Analytics? Yeah.
Much more lenient privacy.
So it's actually, like, GA4 Google, it's actually getting clarified.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So which they have.
No.
So these guys are doing, particularly, therefore, if you're a European company, you can't use GA4. You sort of try this one example, but we're trying to, they could define, if I recall, the deal, like 6 months ago, that they had just posed 10,000 customers that actually gone down to find their ICP. And it was, I don't know, they were looking at many New Zealand companies actually would qualify for their ICP. Start.
Yeah, that's not so that it's up to you, but it's not to the 12%.
So that's embedded in pricing. For their pricing, because I was thinking, well, you know, with values is privacy, and so I thought come back values perspective for something beautifully again, and I was getting all excited to use maternity. It's like the pricing sits like that as well.
Yeah.
So I thought I don't need to.
So Google.
That's award that Google has won for our 30 years. I think that's bigger.
No, I was just thinking, so I did an implementation recently with Tag Manager, and Tag Manager can recognize the options that you've chosen, you know, cookie preferences, etc., as to whether you should or should not track, and it can then send on or not send on information to Google Analytics based on those preferences. So to comply with, well, I understood it to comply with GDPR, not having gone into the depths and bowels of GDPR. I'm not entirely sure whether it hit all of those marks, but yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what he said. I just want to say thank you. Or if any of you want to go, they can.
At any time. Yeah. No. Yeah, kind of like a drop-in session. So I don't know whether we'd get it in before Christmas, probably in the new year at this point. But if there was more specific questions and you wanted to come along and bring the issue that's troubling you or worry you, then yeah, we could set something up. So and have it as a like a semi-regular kind of thing. So yeah, so you'd have to be happy to share what you're going, because we'd put it on the screen and then we'd help you out with it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, keep that in mind. Probably via Helen, I'll reach out again to let you know about it.
And just a reminder, people aren't already on it, but there's a LinkedIn group for the tech marketers. So posting that through that as well. So Chris, you could post out through that group. That means it doesn't come through me.
Very cool. I'm pretty sure I hit record.
You did it wrong.
I don't know where my recording's gone.